Thanks, Dati. Padmini ma'am, are you here?
Yeah, I can see her in the room.
Let me ask. Padmini ma'am?
Sorry, for some reason it just kicked me out, so that's okay. I had to rejoin. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure to introduce our resource person for today. Dr. Padmini Ram is a researcher and ethnographer whose works examine how policy, markets, and social protections shape the lives of people in urban formal economics. She is the founding director of Urban Ethnographer, a Bangalore-based research and advisory firm that works with government, CSR team, and the development agencies to design, strategize, and evaluate programs in livelihood, housing, and education. Dr. Padmini holds a PhD from the University of Cambridge, where her research focused on institutional constraint in India affordable housing markets. Her career of more than 2 decades spanned grassroots NGOs, CSR team, global think tanks, and multilateral agencies, including Care India, DND India, and the United Nations Department of Economics and Social Affairs, and American Red Cross in New York. She has been an educator and mentor as well as a practitioner. Dr. Ram served as a senior faculty in Christ University, Bangalore, whereas she has co-designed a curriculum for graduate program in a development and management and lead clear, and industry academia initiatives on an informal economy. She has taught and supervised students in India and the UK, including the University of Cambridge and the Christ University, bringing ethnographer field practice in classroom learning and monitoring. Her scholarship explore urban informality, pro-poor market, participatory method, and a politics of a service delivery. She is an author of The Affordable Housing Market in India, a Rothel 2020-21, and her work as appears in Economic and Political Weekly, Cities, Habitat International, South Asian Journals, and Journal for Continuing Higher Education, among others. A TED Talk speaker, last but not the least, a TED Talk speaker, she is recognized for her insistence for interpretative, rigorous, and on the making policy and a program design perspectives to complexity of a live experience. The sum of the people does not need introductions. Today we have one of them. Please join us, Dr. Padmini Ram, on the board. Dr. Ma'am, Padmini Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm regretting sort of that longer introduction, but thank you so much. Suffice to say that I am an academic like all of you. This is going to be a peer learning exercise. There's nothing that I'm probably going to tell you that you wouldn't know, but it would be a great reminder for each one of you. I am so honored and so thankful to have been invited to this, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion. Shall I get started? Can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Let me make you a co-host.
Yeah. I think I can. It's letting me share. Yeah.
I'll just come in, Dr. Padmini. Let me welcome you on behalf of entire HSNC board. I'm sure Kashi has given you a brief on who we are and what are we expecting, and we are going to trouble you for. And this is a group of colleges of HSNC board, Hyderabad National Collegiate Board, spread across 14 colleges in Mumbai, right from commerce to arts, science, commerce, to pharmaceutical, to engineering, and the law colleges. So except medical, we are into everything, education and everything. So what the session that we are invited you today, I am a part of R&D cell. I head the R&D cell of HSNC board, and also the principal of the college, which is HR College of Commerce and Economics. Today there are people who are around you is from different fields, and we are expected that many things are being spoken about Scopus journals, but there are myths and facts and misinformations about Scopus. So today we wish to learn from you on what Scopus is, what are different journals available for Scopus, and how to write for Scopus. Because some say there are paid journals, some say there are free journals. There are different kind of information spreading across. So we as researchers want to know, we want to write a good research papers into good recognized Scopus journals. So for humanities, for commerce, for science, for arts, for education, for law, which are the journals that are available, or if there are areas that I can go and search for it. So today we are looking at like small children to you on where should we go, and must say a very, very appreciable CV that we heard just now. So over to you, Dr. Padmini. Over to you. Welcome to the HSNC board.
Thank
Welcome.
you. And just so you know that there was also a first time when I hadn't published in, I mean, today when I look at my, today when you look at the CV, and I've got gray hair and you can see that, when you look at the CV, it feels like, oh, there's got so many publications and this and that and all that stuff and Scopus-Indexed Journals. But there was a time in my life when I hadn't got even a single Scopus-Indexed Journal publication. So been there, done that, and I'm sure that there are many young people here who would be struggling. So happy to help in whichever way I can. And I've kept most of the so yeah, Kashi had told me that it is going to be, and I'm sorry, I'm using, everybody's saying Kashi, so I just took on the name. Yeah, so he had told me that it is going to be multidisciplinary, and that's usually, so this is, I usually engage in faculty development programs for University of Delhi and University of Mumbai. So it's usually a mixed group that I'm okay with. And because the topic was a practical guide, I've tried to include as many practical tips as possible. So hopefully, yeah, let's see. And if you feel like this is something we know and this is not helpful, just stop me there and ask me questions. Use me as a guide. We don't have to go with everything I'm saying, okay? So just feel free. This is a peer group, and just feel free to stop me, make it engaging, all of that. Just count on that. I hope you can all see my screen. I will be turning here because I have another screen here. It doesn't mean I'm ignoring any of you. Hope you guys can see my screen. Can someone confirm?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Okay. So, yeah, that's me, Padmini, and I love reading and I love writing, and yeah, that's just, if I weren't doing anything, that's what I'd be doing in my life. I'd be reading and writing and reading and writing. So that's just who I am. But here, because I am among peers, I'll start with some questions. Publishing has to do with writing. And I know there's AI, and I'm going to talk about all that stuff, and I'm going to talk about tools and all that. But at the core of it, writing, they say, is at the heart of academics. Why do you think that is? First of all, do you even agree that writing is at the heart of academics? And if they say that, why do you think they say that? You can use the chat box, you can unmute yourself and speak. I'm good with anything. You've got Anmol ma'am, Leena ma'am, Jangir sir, Shweta ma'am, Archana ma'am, anybody. Do you agree that writing is at the heart of academics? And why do you think that is, if it is so? Okay, Sheetal ma'am is saying it's an expression to reach the world. Yes, it's an expression to reach the world, but so is music, and so is art, and so is so many other things. Why writing? Okay, it enhances knowledge. I agree with that, but I'm not sure why you're saying it enhances knowledge or how it enhances knowledge. We need to share with the rest of the world. Okay. Okay.
Because writing is formal documentation of your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
So it is more structured, it is more formal. Also,
Yeah.
it has credibility, it is more authentic.
Yeah, it is credible once it's published. Yes, you're right. But
Yeah.
I like the word you used, that it is structured. And I think in trying to make it structured, uh, and I'll get to it, right? You can reach many people without you even knowing. Yes, that's true. But I feel that's so with so many other things, right? Yes, that's true with books and articles and all of that. But that's also true with music. That's also true with art and all of that. So it helps us learn better and thereby apply the same in classroom. Yes, I agree with that. Clarification of thought. Kiran ma'am, thank you. I think my next slide is going to be about that. So the one after that, okay? But what is your current biggest challenge or constraints that's stopping you from writing well? I'll actually uh, put the options here, okay? And I want you to select A, B, or C. Wait. Forget the paired X slide and all that stuff. So apart from that, it was a paired X slide. But paired X doesn't go well with Zoom, so I had to take it out. So your current options are A, I feel I lack the skills. B, I don't have the time or effort to prioritize writing, even though I realize it's important for an academic. C, I don't think writing publishing is all that important. So, yeah, whichever. Okay, a lot of A, B, B, okay, A. Okay, mostly A's and B's, that's good. Nobody thinks that writing is not important, that's a good thing. Yeah. So we can do something about A today, we can do something about B today. Let's see what we can do. Before that, I'll just tell you how I've structured my presentation. So first we're going to talk about why do we need to write? And that's going to be a good rationale for B, hopefully. Then I'm going to talk about positioning your research and how producing research is different from positioning it. Third, I'm going to talk about how to look for a journal and some pointers for a higher acceptance rate. And fourth, some tools that I found useful, including AI and how to use it and all of that. So we're clear on that. My first question, why should we write? And yeah, I got some of the answers, and one of them said it clarifies thought. And I think I agree with that. So I think as academics, our job, our core job, like the core job of a policeman is to protect the citizens. The core job of a diagnostician is to diagnose diseases. I think the core job of academics, if not human beings, is to think critically, right? And I think as an academic, we have a responsibility to think critically, the same way that journalists have a responsibility to question authorities, going along those lines. And in that, I have 4 points to make. First, writing clarifies our thought process, because when we are writing our first draft, it's usually a very, excuse my language, shitty draft. So this whole idea of as and when we write more and we are like somebody's saying, or your guide is telling you, hey, elaborate, lose language, or what do you mean, or can you give me evidence here, these kind of things, you start to clarify your thought process more and more, right? It makes us aware of the new and upcoming research. When you're writing, because none of us, I mean, admit it, I love reading, but I'm probably reading, like right now, I'm reading Elizabeth Gilbert's All the Way to the River. I love memoirs or fiction or those kind of things. I'm not going to sit and after my whole day go and read about affordable housing. I'm not. So we are not going to do it unless it's needed for a class or unless it's needed for our research. And even for a class, we get away with most what's happening currently, and we don't really have to dig deeper and understand the debate that's going on in our subject and all that stuff. So we get away with a lot just when we're preparing for class. Together, when I see writing, right, I don't see just as my writing. I see writing as literature review, knowledge that we're putting out there, and together we're building new knowledge. So somebody says something. So for example, somebody says, let's say, I don't know, Alzheimer's is caused by XYZ gene. And then somebody does a small research and they find out that, oh, but so many people were on this drug and the incidence of Alzheimer's increased among them. And then they'll put out a theory that says, oh, use of this drug increases Alzheimer's. And then somebody else will go out and test that and then either prove it or disprove it, or examine the whole theory. So that's how new knowledge gets built, right? Layering upon layering upon layering upon layering kind of a thing. And that whole process is so exciting and so amazing. And so to be part of that group and to be part of that coterie of sort of people is just so exciting. And I think by reading and writing, we get to be part of that. And it connects us to other people in the field, whether we're publishing, we are on LinkedIn, we are connecting with them, we are presenting it in conferences. It connects us to what people are thinking about it. For example, I'm from informal economy. What are people thinking about gig work, or what are people thinking about the way gig work or informal work is going to take off or not take off in the new world, and all of that, right? So it connects us to people who are working in the same field, and it helps. Because I'm interested in that, I'm also interested in what other people are thinking about in that field, kind of a thing. So, and all of us are interested in something or the other, and hopefully we've chosen subjects that we are interested in. So how does writing clarify? And I know that the rest of the things you will agree with, but I want to just dig a little deeper on how writing clarifies our thought process. Can someone tell me how writing clarifies our thought process? Okay, this one I'm going to not sit out. I'm going to explain, and then you can add if you have any thoughts around it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a very provocative statement, because I'm guessing some of you are vegetarians, some of you are non-vegetarians. And I'm going to put out a very, very provocative statement, which will actually rub you the wrong way, right? So I have put out a statement that says factory farming of animals causes immense suffering to animals and therefore is unjustified and immoral. This is a topic that you have been given. And let's say you've been asked to write an academic essay on this. How would you go about it? What would you research? How would you go about it? Can someone tell me? Thinking on paper, yeah, that's how it clarifies. Yes, it is thinking on paper, but I'm just giving you an example. So what would you, okay, what does your outline, what's your first thought process? What are the questions that's coming to your mind? Not that I will ask ChatGPT, but what are the questions that's coming to your mind as to somebody says this and you instantly agree with it? Or, okay, how many animals suffer? Okay, that's a fair question. Maybe I start by reason behind increasing the demand for non-veg food. Okay, that's a good question. What other things are coming to you? To think, what is research gap? Research, okay, Riddhi ma'am, I want you to explain to me, what do you mean by research gap? What is the first thought that comes to your mind when you're saying this? It's not research gap, right? You either instantaneously agree with that statement or you disagree with that statement. I'm guessing if you are a vegetarian, you would agree with the statement. If you're a non-vegetarian, you disagree with that statement. But when we are instantly agreeing or disagreeing with something without evidence, we are not thinking critically. We are thinking emotionally. We are responding to an emotion or to our conditioning. I have been raised this way. I've been conditioned to to be raised this way. And so I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's right. Just to give you an example, I delivered my child in New York, right? And for me, I'm an Indian. I am used to a mother co-sleeping with the child, and they wouldn't let me keep my baby, my newborn, with me, and they would put him in a crib next to me, but in a crib. And that was so bothersome for me because I've been conditioned to think that that's how it is, that's how it should be, and all of that, right? So those kind of things. Okay, somebody has written, Darshit sir has written, analyze both sides first before starting the research or concluding. Okay, but what are the questions you will use to analyze it? How cruel they have been treated like a product, as if they don't have a life. Yes, and it's a loaded question, right? Because you have already decided that they have been treated cruelly, and yeah, so that's the thing, right? And so, yes. So how would you evaluate this view? These are some of the questions that I have put, right? These are some of the questions that pop on top of my mind. So first question is, does factory farming of animals cause them immense suffering? Because I'm not talking about killing them. I am talking about factory farming. So killing is happening any which ways. That's not what the statement is about. I am talking about, does factory farming of animals, so the first part of the statement, I'm examining that, and does it cause immense suffering? So that's what I'm examining, right? Then I'm asking, do we have a moral obligation to other species, or is only human suffering bad? So, okay, that's an ethical, philosophical question. How do we decide if human beings need to eat meat? So we don't judge when a lion eats a deer, but we judge when humans eat meat. So then are humans supposed to eat, and just so I'm clarifying, it doesn't matter whether I'm a vegetarian or not, but I am a vegetarian. It doesn't matter. But as an academic, we need to evaluate the statement by what the statement is saying, right? Not how we're feeling about the statement. Do we need to eat meat? So, so then there is a sub-question to it. How well can human beings live without meat? Then there is another thing to it. Then I found some evidence, and I'm saying some vegetarians have lived to very old ages. Does this show that vegetarian diets are also healthier? Or is it irrelevant when you consider that some non-vegetarians have also lived to very old ages? Then I'll say, should humans be allowed to eat meat because they can afford it? Because that's what is happening when we are wearing silk or wearing leather or any of it, all of it, right? So does affordability make it okay? And none of these questions, you will notice, have a straightforward answer. None of us, including me, who might have researched this topic, will have a straightforward answer to these questions, right? There was one statement, and okay, what are all the questions that are coming to my mind when I'm thinking about this statement? And I've listed it out, and I know that none of this is a straightforward question. And because it's not a straightforward question, it's forcing me to think critically. It's forcing me to find out more, to research more about it. And all of the answers have to be considered very, very carefully because it's not very clear at the beginning, right? So then moving on, does this example help in understanding how writing clarifies our thought process? Okay. Okay, then I'm coming to how does academic writing differ from other forms of writing? So like I said, I'm reading a memoir, I read fiction, like, yeah. I might read Vogue or I might read other things. How is academic writing then different from other forms of writing? And these are important things, okay? These are important points to consider before we even get into publishing. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but just so we know. So first, academic writing is signposted. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by academic writing is signposted? I'm not going to go through all of it. The ones that you know I'm not going to bring up. But can anyone tell me what signposted writing means? Okay, signposted writing is when you know exactly how it is structured. There's going to be an introduction, there's going to be a methodology section, there's going to be an abstract, there's going to be a theoretical framework, there's going to be an analysis section, there's going to be a conclusion section. You almost already know how each one ties into another. Yes, it's significant. Oh, Kiran ma'am, you're writing for the earlier point that we were making, right? Yes, okay, cool, yes. So yeah, for the signposted thing, when I say writing is signposted, it is like it has a structure. You know, like when you go on Mumbai-Pune road, there is sign, oh, there is a left turn, now there is a right turn, there's a speed bump, there is this thing. So you know exactly what to expect next. That's signposted writing. Does that make sense to everyone? Can I move on? I'm looking at the chat, so you can put in the chat and I can bring that. Okay, cool. So, so that's what signposted writing is. And signposted writing, we don't find signposted writing in fiction. So it's like, we don't know how a fiction starts. We don't know whether there's going to be one narrator or multiple narrators, any of that, right? So fiction and even nonfiction doesn't have a signposted writing. It is written for a scientific audience, and I'm not going to explain that because we all know what a scientific audience is. For me, social science public policy researchers are my scientific audience. For a biologist, the group of biologists within that subject, within genetics, for example, might be their scientific audience. Why is it written for a scientific audience? Because the real estate, as in the 6,000 pages or something that we have, it's limited, right? So if I have to use a term like debt cycles, anybody who's in economics knows exactly what debt cycles is. So I'm not going to explain it. I'm going to use it. Or if I'm in management and I'm using a term like time management, I know that management has complicated terminology. I'm using a simple one so that everybody understands. If I'm using a term like time management, everybody knows what it is. If I had to explain time management, I would have to write a para that whatever is the task given to you, you have to prioritize it, you have to figure out how much time you spend on it, and blah, 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 blah. This is what time management is. But I'm not going to. These are terms that my audience already knows. So I'm not going to explain all of this because each time I'm going to explain a term, it's going to take me a good amount of one paragraph, and I can't afford to lose one paragraph when my word limit is just 6,000 words. I can't afford that. So I'm writing for a scientific audience, which means I am not expected to explain every single thing. If there is something new, if there is something that I'm using in a different way, yeah, debt cycle, yes, absolutely. You're right. So, but others might not know what debt cycle is. So that is why it's very hard for me to read a paper in physics or chemistry or law because I don't know the terminology that they're using. But I can read a paper in economics or public policy or development sociology, or in general, I'm an interdisciplinary researcher, so I can read in social sciences, I can read papers, but I can't read papers in other subjects or in English literature. I don't know a lot of terminology in English literature, right? So yeah, so that way, I'm writing for my scientific audience. It's peer reviewed, and who is a peer? Can you please tell me who a peer is? It's important. That's why I'm asking you guys. When you're publishing, you need to know who is reviewing your research. Same field, yes. But, yeah, but a peer in our case is going to be anybody who holds a PhD in our research. So they don't send it to industry experts. They don't send it to anybody else. Yeah, evaluated by experts, but they are not just any experts. I mean, I might have 40 years experience in the industry, but they're not going to send a paper to me. But I might be just 24 with a PhD, and they will consider me a peer. So that's the difference I want you guys to note. So somebody who's reviewing especially in blind peer review, I mean, I might be 45 and my paper might be reviewed by somebody who's 23, and they are considered a peer. But the only criteria is that they need to have a PhD in the said subject. That's the only criteria. It's factual and non-combative. What do I mean by factual and non-combative? What I mean by such writing, which will get rejected if you write like that, and that's why I'm bringing this up. So I can say things like, so what I'm trying to say is I have to respect my peers in the field. Period. Okay, so when I'm pointing out that De Soto and Jones completely neglected the point about death cycles, I can't write like that because I don't know if they completely neglected it or not, right? Maybe they considered it and then maybe they thought it wasn't important. I can, however, keep it factual and say that in this paper, De Soto and Jones do not mention death cycles or have not considered the concept of death cycles in analyzing this. That I can say. So it's non-combative language. We're not fighting with them. We are pointing out facts. And so when you're writing, you have to write in a non-combative way, even if you are criticizing someone, even if you are even if you're tearing down a paper, you still have to do it in a non-combative way. So because once published, at one point in time, they have pushed the boundaries of knowledge. And so we are respecting them for that, right? So even if after that it has been proven wrong, it still doesn't matter. So that's there. And then it is thoroughly referenced and it should not be open to multiple interpretations. What do I mean by that? I know I'm spending too much time on the slide, but what I mean is in fiction writing, you can say something like, oh, and the hero and the heroine walked hand in hand towards the sunset. And what happened after the sunset? God knows. Maybe they fought there and they divorced or anything. It's open to your interpretation, like how you interpret it, right? But academic writing, scientific writing cannot be open to multiple interpretations. You have to say exactly what you're saying, okay? And it cannot be written in a way that is amorphous, that is not precise. So the precision of the language, precision of the word that you're using becomes very, very important, because if you're using very abstract, very amorphous terms, and a lot of your writing is very abstract and amorphous, it is going to get rejected. It has to be precise, and that becomes really, really important in academic writing. It is thoroughly referenced, open to cross-verification. So I cannot say that, oh, I saw this in the diary somewhere that nobody else can verify. I can't really put that in, or something that's not published. I can't really cite that. Whatever I'm citing should be open to cross-reference and cross-verification. It's a place of critical writing. It has to be original and contribute to knowledge. These things, you know. I could have spent time, but I think I want to move on because we're getting late. This is for B. Whoever selected B, I want to just spend a minute on this slide by saying that most full-length articles are 6,000 to 8,000 words, okay? And 6,000 to 8,000 words is a lot when we think about it. But when we actually start to write, and I usually start with my either my literature review or my literature review is already done and then I'm going into the field and things like that. So then I'll write up the methodology part of it as to how I did what I did and those kind of things, right? So when you're looking at it, let's say introduction. Introduction has to be 1,500 words. 1,500 words is 3 pages, just 3 pages. And in 3 pages, you have to have problem statement, you have to have a brief literature review, you have to have the research question and objectives. So, I mean, our students write about 1,500 words or more, or 2,000 words in every exam. So it's not that hard is what I know the quality of that and the quality of a published, I know all that. But I'm trying to tell you is 2,000 words, when we break it down and say 1,000 words, 1,500 words, 500 words, it's not that difficult. So if we keep track of it and say this weekend I'm going to just write 1,000 words, and then I'm going to revise those 1,000 words next weekend, it's not going to be that hard. You're going to probably spend 2 hours on it, and which you might anyway have done doom scrolling. So just wanted to put it out there. Then comes the part about positioning research. How am I doing on time? Okay, 6:44, let's see. Positioning research. So what I mean by this is that producing research is one thing and positioning your research is completely different. So we write because we want to be part of the dialogue and discussion that's happening in our field of research, right? And that's the thing you need to have in mind. I mean, I know the desperation, okay? And some of you might be really young, who might still not have a PhD, and you're 23 and all of that, or you're in your 20s, and I get that. I have been there. And when you don't have a single paper, you feel like, forget join all the conversation. I just need one paper so that, I get it. But in that short-term goal, I don't want you to miss the big picture. And I want you to understand and research because that's the only way to build influence, okay? If you want to influence your area of research, then you have to first figure out which conversation rooms am I joining. So who am I citing? Who am I reading? Which conversation am I joining? Those are the kind of things that, so for example, if somebody asks me, which school of economics are you from? I should know whether I belong to the Chicago School of Economics, or I'm more Keynesian, or what kind of writing I have, who are the scholars who have influenced my writing, who do I agree with, who do I disagree with, who and why do I disagree with them, and what evidence do I have to disagree with them, right? Who does my research closely speak to? And so these kind of things is something that you need to be kind of aware of. And I've put very broad categories, right? Like gender studies. Gender studies is huge. There's like 4-5 decades of research in gender studies. Informal economy, you've got 4 decades of research in informal economy. So when we are looking at 4 decades of research, when you read enough, you will know that there are different schools of thought and they agree or disagree with each other, and you tend to agree or disagree with some people more than others. So figuring out where to position yourself is going to come in very handy when you are actually trying to publish that research, because then you know, oh, so this is the school of thought that I'm going with. Oh, so they publish in these articles. Oh, so these are the articles that I need to read for critique of these kind of papers, those kind of things. And as a reviewer, and I'm a reviewer for a lot of journals, as a reviewer, I don't like the line that says this area is under-researched, because it tells me nothing. Every area in this world, including how ice cream is made, is under-researched, okay? So it tells me nothing about what I'm about to read. So what I would like to see is, here's how my paper intervenes in this ongoing debate. So there's an ongoing debate about debt crisis, and this is my position in that. Or there's an ongoing debate about Jane Austen and decolonizing in English literature, and this is my position on that. I agree with it, I don't agree with it, whatever. This is why I agree with it, this is what we have lost, all of that, right? And broad claims, right? I bring in the complication, bring in the nuance, and that's what makes your paper interesting. So without that, I feel like it's just too broad and it doesn't tell me enough, and I'd rather pick, because out of like, I don't know, 500 submissions, we picked like 8 submissions. So if I have a better candidate, I'm going to go with a better candidate. It's as simple as that. So for me, it's just that. And a well sort of argued paper is what I'm looking at. So how do you strategically sort of build a portfolio? I like to think in terms of okay, this I feel is a helpful advice. So think in terms of a strategic sort of trajectory, right? Or I don't know if any of you have like a design background. Please raise your hands if any of you have like a design background or anything of that sort, or planning background where you build portfolios. And in those portfolios, what do you want to see? If you're seeing the portfolio of someone, you want to see what are the kind of things they have done, right? Or if I say something like, I'm just going back to movies because I think most people can agree with that. If I say like Nazaruddin Shah has this kind of an acting style versus Shah Rukh Khan, we all know what it means because we've seen enough of those movies. We've sort of been part of that debate. We know exactly what it means, right? But and that's what we want to build. We want to figure out which is going to be our conceptual paper. So usually your conceptual paper is your literature review. What is going to be which is going to be your empirical paper, which is going to be your comparative paper, which is going to be your methodological paper. So you don't have time for fieldwork? Don't worry about it. Do a comparative analysis. Do a desk review. So write those papers, and then you start to sort of see progressions of how it goes, right? And I would say collaborate. Like collaborate with your students, collaborate with other people. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. And these days, LinkedIn is such a good source. Reach out to people who are working in your area. What are they working on? So write co-authored pieces. Both of you have a sort of article for half the effort. So yeah, keep those things in mind and sort of keep a publication tracker, like, okay, maybe I can write a paper on this one day. Maybe I can write a paper on this one day. This is something very interesting, and those kind of things. You know how content creators have this calendar? Okay, this is what I need to talk about. This is what I need to say. That's how, as academics, you will have to figure out like where you're at with everything. And this is something I used to do very actively when I was an academic, but I'm more of a practitioner now, so I don't have to do it, but yeah. I'm just giving you a quick example of this, and I'm going to explain the Scopus metrics and all of that. But so for me, right, if my paper is empirical or interdisciplinary, I'm going to go with world development. If my paper is a mix of practitioner and academic, like action research or something like that, then I'm going to go with development and practice. But if it is more theoretical, so let's say I'm talking about Michael Ball and structure of housing provision, then I'm going to go with Journal of Development Studies. But if I'm talking about affordable housing in Chhattisgarh, then I'm probably going to go with either development in practice or Indian, not labor economics, because it's not about labor, but something that's regional, something that accepts empirical work and those kind of things. And then, yeah, So look at these kind of things. Gender and development invites, sends out invites for thematic areas. So they usually, you know what the theme is going to be, and that theme will give you a good idea about what is getting funded. And I know this is such a, I feel bad for saying it, but it's so important because all of you will have at some point pressure to bring in funding. And unless you track these things, you will not know which area gets funding. So yes, gender, but within gender, which is the area that's getting funding these days, or within informal economy, which is the, so for example, in development studies, I know that place-based or geography-based development is making a lot of noise. Or in terms of ODI or funding, I know that H&I funding is making a lot of noise. So I know that those are the areas which you will get a lot of funding in. So keeping track of within our sector, which, and if you look at ESRC or AHRC sort of themes, you will know, okay, these are the themes that are getting the funding, that kind of a thing. So that tells you how to sort of track your trajectory. And then what do reviewers look for? So I'll start with this line, right? And this line is important because if I'm a reviewer, and I am a reviewer, the thing I ask always is, if this paper were published, would it change what I know about whatever it is talking about? How we think about the topic, any of it. Would it change any of it? If it doesn't change any of it, it's not adding to any knowledge, right? So then we are looking at the so what of it. You might have done really good research, but you're not able to bring out the so what of it. So what do I mean by so what? In education sector, just yesterday I was having this conversation with some of the NGOs that work in education sector. They put out things like, children are now reading 135 words per minute and 65 words per minute and 30 words per minute and 4 words per minute and whatever, right? And this is the international, but then to a lay person, and this is the SD, like this is the standard deviation and all. I'm a research methods person and I know education fairly well, so I can understand it. But your donor or they may not be, right? So the so what of it, what does it mean? What does your intervention, your study did that tells us something new about it? That has to come out very well. Poor alignment between question, data, and analysis. So the way I structure a paper is my first research question. I only take one research question per paper. And in that one research question, if I have sub-questions, those sub-questions have to answer a part of the main research question. Otherwise, there's no point to it, right? I don't have an example right now, I think, but I'll try and see. So for example, if I were to say something like, can there be an affordable housing market? So if that's my question, my sub-question is going to be, is there demand for affordable housing? Do people have the ability to pay? Are there suppliers of affordable housing? What are their constraints? These are my sub-questions. So my sub-questions have to actually answer the main question, because without that, I am never going to be able to, kind of, I will just show you something. Let me just take here, research design, research questions. So if this is my hypothesis, this I have to present it tomorrow, so I just have it on my desk. This is my research hypothesis, this is my null hypothesis, this is my main research question, right? How do structural barriers at the child, household, and school levels interact to produce persistent low learning outcomes? And to what extent are these outcomes shaped by in-school factors versus external socioeconomic factors? So then my sub-research questions from this are going to be, what structural barriers? Hi, sir. Yeah. What are my structural barriers? What are my pathways and sequences? What are my mechanisms and contexts? And what are my actionable leverage points, right? And the reason I'm doing that is because then जो इतना सारा data मेरे पास होगा, मैं उसको समेट पाऊंगी. Varna, it's going to go all over the place and I'll never be able to actually write one cohesive argument, right? So I have to have one research question and sub-questions that answer the main research question, or I have one research question and then objectives. And then each objective of mine either becomes a chapter, if it's a longer research, like a PhD kind of research, 90,000 word research ho, to fir I'll make it into like each objective as one chapter. If it's not, then I'll make each objective as one analysis section. So then my findings or my recommendations have to come from my findings, my empirical data, and not really like, वरना I get papers where research question कुछ पूछ रहा है, objectives कुछ और बोल रहे हैं, or analysis कुछ और हुआ है, and analysis is good. They've done correlation, they've done all of that, they've done regression is solid, but it doesn't answer my question still. And then the policy recommendations are just generic, picked from here and there. So that kind of a paper is, even if your analysis is solid, it's not going to go through. Overgeneralized conclusion, by the time you write conclusion, you're so tired, you will just, yeah, it tends to be overgeneralized. So be cautious in what you're saying, and sloppy referencing, missing citations, all of these things are very, it tells me that it's not a very rigorous research. This I used to give as a practice to my students. So reverse engineer a published paper. So आप जिस journal में publish करना चाहते हैं, just pick a paper which seems like, okay, this is something I can write. Just pick that paper and then start reading it. Like, don't spend more than 20 minutes reading the paper, okay? Skim read the paper and then write, acha, here they're talking about this, here they're talking about this, like that. And skim read like 4 papers in 1 hour. And then whichever you feel, this I have to go back and read, then go back and read that, okay? So what you have to do is, how does it move from one level to the next level? How is it presenting evidence? What kind of evidence is it presenting? How are the methods being justified? So these kind of things, I'm looking for the vocabulary. I'm looking for the kind of language that they're using. I'm looking for the kind of nuance that they are using. And it helps me so much to be able to then write for that, right? So, and mirror that architecture. You're not copying it. You're mirroring that architecture in your own draft, but you're not copying like text pura aise. Whatever I'm saying, does that make sense for you? If you have questions, please feel free to ask. Just put in the chat and I'll sort of take it from there, okay? So now we come to the third section, which is how to look for a journal, right? And in this section, or if you have any sort of questions or kuch samajh nahi aa raha hai, just let me know. I'll try and explain it in a different word, right? In a different way. So selecting the right journal. Ma'am was actually talking about paid journals, right? So most OA journals or open access are paid journals. They are Scopus indexed, but it doesn't mean that everybody who's asking you for payment is open access. So you have to check very carefully. Also, this is about the rates that they charge, and APC range बता रही हूं मैं. APC is article processing charge, but a lot of fraudsters use that to say, okay, हमारा ये open access है और this is article processing charge, but it doesn't say whether or not it's Scopus indexed. Okay, so thank you, Samyak sir. He's telling me that so far it's clear. Okay, so pehle to you will have to see whether the scope actually aligns with you, and I'll tell you how to do that. Then you have to see whether the board members and the people who are there and the the kind of people who are publishing in it, are they like you? Are they publishing in your area and those kind of things? Some Scopus journals publish 3 to 4 issues per year, others have 1-year backlogs. So somebody had once told me, a friend of mine had once told me that publishing journals is like how the light from the stars reach us. It originated like 1 billion years ago, and by the time it reaches you, you feel like, oh, yeah, it reaches you then, but it would have originated like billions of years ago, kind of a thing. So that's how article publishing is. So far, till date, I have never paid for an article. I have never paid for any of my Scopus-Indexed journals, but they have almost all taken about a year and a half to sort of get cleared and get done. Okay, then what I'm going to do is ye hai. So I'm going to take you here. Pehle to na, we'll go here. So there are these kind of article journal finders. It's not showing it, right? Okay, this is Elsevier ka journal finder hai. So you have to paste your abstract in here. And when you paste the abstract in there, it will actually tell you whether or not which article. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the literature review and situational analysis jo humne kiya hai. And then I'm going to, yeah, you think we are not academics, but we have to publish a lot of research. So yeah, what I'm going to do is then I'm going to take this. It's not going to be very good, but I'm still going to try it because I don't have a ready-made abstract with me, right? Okay, this is too long because abstract is just about 200 words. So let's just go with 1 paragraph. Okay, and find journals. So then you can switch off this filter. Can you see journals that offer OA? आपको नहीं pay करना है, आप उसको off कर दीजिए. So everything that comes is without OA, okay? Journals with subscription. Journals with subscription means you are not paying. Somebody else has to pay, the institution has to pay, but you are not paying. So then it comes about economics and human endocrinology, whatever, information economics, world business. None of it is correct, right? Asian Journal of Social Sciences, okay, maybe I can, yeah, this might be a good one, right? Impact factor 1.2, shayad na, yeah, maybe I can do it, kind of a thing. So I'll look for it. And then I'm looking at Journal of Development Economics, maybe that's not a bad area, kind of thing. So this type you can do. And what I'm going to now do is actually give you this in the chat box, and I want you to start finding your own thing. Okay? Wahan pe maine dala hai. So you guys put your abstract in there and then try and find it. Then another such thing is this one. Okay, I don't know why it doesn't take me here. Okay, share this tab. Ye Springer ka hai. And if you go here, you will be able to, again, look for your journals, okay? So you can put 5,000 characters, you can put your entire research in there and all that stuff, and then you can find journals in there, and you can use the same kind of filters and all that stuff. Once you've done all of that, right? And then what you do is, I like to go to ये Scimago journal का रहता है ना, SJR rating, जो पहले मैंने दिखाया था, SJR rating. I will go here and I will enter, say, my topic. Let's say my topic is affordable housing, let's say. Or you can give me a topic of yours. Just put in the chat box. Oh, okay. Housing? Okay, housing, sorry. Housing dala, ye sare aa gaye, right? Now, what I'm going to do is, there are all of this, right? Now I'm going to go here, and all of this are Scopus. So this, right, Scimago, the journal and country ranking, it's a Scopus indexed ranking, okay? So what I'm going to go here and do is, जैसे मैं ये देख रही हूँ, ये, I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. Okay. So when I look at housing studies, which is United Kingdom, अगर मैं इसमें submit करती हूँ और मेरा सारा writing American spelling में है, English, British English use नहीं कर रहा है, तो it's likely to get rejected, right? But also things like, so looking at what? But also what I'm looking at is the H index is 95. 95 is too high if I've never published. I mean, I'm not putting anybody down. I am not saying anything. I'm trying to be helpful. So, SJR is the index citing, कितनों ने उसको cite किया है ऐसे, so quartile 1 में हम देख रहे हैं 1.4 है, which is quite high. H index, which is Hirsch index, is 95, and 95 is very high. And for a first time person, housing studies में publish होना मुश्किल है, because it's got a very high H index. So what will I do? I will go down and I will look at something like Journal of Housing and Built Environment. इसमें देखिए आपका H index जो है वो 60 हो जाता है. It's kind of doable, but I'm looking at something, if I can get something like 10 or something like that, right? So let's go back. Then I am looking at, let's say, critical housing analysis. इसका 16 है. This is possible. I mean, अगर मैं 16 वाले index, H index में कोशिश करूं, तो chances become very high compared to something like housing studies, which has 95 H index, right? Hirsch index. So, and I'm not asking you to not pitch for the highest. By all means, go for the highest, do that, all that stuff. And you can even like apply to multiple. I have never done that and I dislike that process, but a lot of people do it, and you can apply to multiple journals at the same time, and jo accept kar le pehle, baki se withdraw kar lena baad mein. But I don't like that because I don't like wasting people's time. So H index 16 hai, there is a good chance that I will get accepted here compared to something like housing studies, right? And both are Scopus indexed. As far as University of Mumbai is concerned, it really doesn't matter too much. Like my publication in here or there won't really matter, but my chances of getting published becomes a lot higher if I'm sort of publishing in something like this. Then these are proceedings. Proceedings abhi khatam ho gaye hain, so those won't work. Agar khatam nahi hue hain, so they might work. Positioning papers might work. So they are all Scopus indexed, okay? Iska ho sakta hai high ho, pata nahi. Iska H index 0 hai. But European Journal of Housing Policy, iska H index 0 hai, but it is still a Scopus indexed journal. 0 होने के बावजूद. So my chances of being able to publish here is a lot higher. ये Taylor and Francis का है. Publisher is Taylor and Francis. Its H index is 0 because it's a new journal, and किसी university ने, this is which university is this? I don't know, but some university has floated it and it's new, but they have got Scopus indexed rankings. So that way, what I'll do is I want you to do this for yourself. आप अपने subject का डालिए यहाँ पे, और look for, keep going down. As you go down, the index actually thoda sa it comes down. Not always, but it usually comes down. And then अपने सब्जेक्ट का डालिए और फिर अपना टाइटल डालिए और फिर try and find out which is a possible journal you might be able to publish in, okay? So once you do all that stuff, then you have something like this, right? Always verify on Scopus source list. So this is the Scopus source list. मैं आपको ये PPT भेज दूंगी. I came to that Scopus is not available from nearly. Scopus is not available means I don't know what that means. It's an indexing. So it's no, I didn't understand, Priya. Can you please explain? Because Scopus is an index, so there's nothing like it's not available. Care ka UGC care ka you must have heard ki it's not available because wo bar wo unka I don't know what keeps happening. UGC care list keeps DOI is not no. Okay, I'll tell you. DOI is a digital object identifier which is given to each article. Okay. Scopus has got nothing to do with DOI. DOI can be given to anything, even non-Scopus things के लिए आपको DOI मिल सकता है. हर एक चीज जिसमें कि आपका digital object identifier है, आपको एक DOI link मिल जाएगा. So that's not an issue. Scopus is an index which is run by Elsevier, and it's running. There's nothing wrong with it. So this is the मैंने जो ये DP वाला list डाला है ना scopus.com/sources, that you have to go. So this is where you have to go, and this is the Scopus preview. So यहाँ पे जो भी sort of listed है, all of them are listed. You just go to your subject area. So enter subject area, whatever it be, horticulture, arts and humanities, anything you go to. I don't know, let me pick language and linguistics. And language and linguistics mein ye sara aa raha hai. So those kind of things. So all those that are listed in Scopus is listed here. I don't think it will shut down, to be honest, unless Elsevier is shut down, which is unlikely because they are like the richest publishing company out there and they make a lot of money by publishing. So I don't think it's going to shut down anytime soon. But UGC care, on the other hand, har dusre din unka, so this is the UGC care list, ye har dusre din down rehta hai. But if you are lucky enough to get it in one of those days jab wo nahi ho, so then you have to go here and you have to like subject आपको देखना है, फिर subject में आप जैसे आपने education लिखा, let's say, फिर आपने search किया.
Ma'am, I had a question.
Yes.
As far as NAC is concerned,
Yeah.
do they consider only journals which have a DOI?
No, the NAC considers DOI or anything considers DOI because DOI kabhi change nahi ho sakta. So for example, if you have...
as in my what I wanted to ask was that print journals, even previously when there were UGC care print journals, because see, in the format that NAC asks for each paper, they ask for a DOI link.
Yes.
And if that link is not available, like even print journals were authentic journals in even for UGC care publications. So does NAC consider only journals with DOI?
Yes, because NAC is looking at university rating and accreditation, isliye. So it's not saying that you are not published, it's saying that your university is not producing enough quality research. Does that make a difference to you?
Yeah, but again, ma'am, see, when there are two types of journals, one is say online journals and the other is print journals.
But okay, Geeta, just 1 second. So if it's a print journal, right, it has limited circulation.
Right.
So somebody who's sitting in Timbuktu or Southern California is unable to access it. So by nature, your circulation or your circle of influence is what they call it. Circle of influence reduces.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that your research is of a lower quality. It just means that you are not publishing influential research which others are able to read.
So then in that case, they only consider online journals?
Yes, online, and I'll tell you why they
the
consider
one with DOI, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you why they consider DOI. But what happens is, for example, I'll just show you. So for example, let's say I'm looking at any of this, right? I'm looking at, this is one of my papers. I'm looking at it. Ab yahan pe, if I go here, right, and if I cite this, if I click on this, and or I can just go here actually, and if I cite this, let's say, right, यहाँ पे मैंने cite किया, यहाँ पे कोई link नहीं आ रहा है. It's an authentic journal, but there is no way somebody can look for it. But अगर, so NAC is telling you, I am not going to do the hard work. You have to do the hard work for me, so that I just have to click on it and I have to get it. That's all it's saying.
Yes.
So, and DOI जो है normal link, जैसे for example ये मैंने दिया और let's say मैंने ये वाला link दिया, ये Science Direct blah 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 blah, ये link वो नहीं लेगा क्योंकि this link can change. A DOI cannot change. It never changes. So अगर कोई somebody is reviewing it 5 years later, the DOI still remains the same. That is why it matters. So, मेरा DOI link for that article is this, which is different from this, right? You can see? No, I don't know if you can see, but can you see? Because half the screen is visible.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah, this is one link, and this is my DOI link. These two are different, but they both take you to the same article. अब अगर मैंने पहला वाला link दिया है, which is not a DOI link, then I'm not paying for that link. When I say I mean Science Direct is not paying for that link. So आज उन्होंने, let's say GoDaddy में ये किया है, and tomorrow they can remove it. But जो DOI में रहता है, they cannot remove it. That's the whole point. So NAC is telling you, just don't give me the citation, which is this, which is basically this, right? यहाँ पे मैंने cite कर दिया, मैंने तो publish कर लिया, and it's in a Scopus-Indexed Journal. मैं आपको citation भी दे रही हूँ, उससे ज़्यादा आपको क्या चाहिए? But all they are telling you is, I don't want to do the hard work. You do the hard work. You give me a link that I can quickly go and check. That's all.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's not on the quality of research at all. It's just the, yeah. So then you are going here, and I'm giving you 3. एक तो Scopus source list है, जहाँ पे आप check कर सकते हैं कि आपका article, journal वहाँ listed है या नहीं. Then there is Beale's list of archives. Beale's list is, Beale started this research when he got to know that there are so many predatory journals. So almost all the predatory journals, their only job in the world, that organization's only job in the world, is literally to enlist all the predatory journals there. So अगर आपको एक email आया है कि boss, you pay me $4,000 and I will get you published and blah blah blah, all that stuff, and you will get published in 6 weeks, it's probably a predatory journal. And go and check here if their name exists, and then you will be able to know that it's a predatory journal kind of a thing. So it's called Beale's list. Beale was the guy who started it, so it's called Beale's list. And then you go to DOHA for OA journals. OA journals, most of us don't kind of publish it because you have to pay money, and unless you have got a funding which says, like for example, when I was doing funding with Bell's Institute, right? Bell's Institute wants to, or has this concept of knowledge should be free, and so what they will do is they will put in a funding for me to publish it in an open access journal. अगर ऐसा funding मिला है आपको, ICSSR might also do it. अगर आपको ऐसा funding मिला है, so then you can publish it. You can keep a part of the money for these things. Actually, just 2 months ago, we won 1.3 CR ka ICSSR grant. But even with the large grant, we didn't have any open access funding ka. They didn't give us open access funding ka money. So ICSSR does it less. I'm just letting you know. And then you have, what else do I want to show you? Okay, what else helps? Let's say. And all these links are there. All these links, if you want, I can put in there as well. Just go check it out, play with it, and all of that. And now it's your turn. So yeah, while I'm speaking, just click on the links and try and find out all that stuff, right? Some pointers for a higher acceptance rate. So I'm telling the story, even though it's not a great story, and even though it doesn't put me in a great light, I'm telling the story because I think it's helpful. So when I got into Cambridge the first time, when I got into Cambridge, I didn't get a full scholarship. And with the partial scholarship, मुझे लगा था कि अब तो I'll have to let it go because I don't have the kind of money and wherewithal to take it up, right? So, but then some things happened and I got some scholarship and all that stuff. I mean, partial scholarship to mila hi tha. We went and my husband was like, no, we have to try and go and all that stuff. So we went. But after going there, I made it a mission of my life to get full scholarship. So every foreign university in their library has something called a grants handbook, and grants handbook lists all the grants that are not available online. So I went there and I started noting down all the grants that kind of suited me, and I started writing grant applications to them, right? And wahan pe wo grant handbook ka, the thing is, you are not allowed to copy it. You are not allowed to like photocopy it. You have to sit in the restricted reading section and you have to read it there. You can make notes, but you are not allowed to bring it out to photocopy. So it's a painstaking job. I did that. And do you know how many applications I put in? 77 applications. That's how many applications I put in. And because I put in 77 applications, and mujhe to, it was like my day job kind of a thing. I mean, I was doing a PhD, I was teaching as part of my partial scholarship. All of that, I was teaching 25 hours, all that karna tha, but saath mein I was like constantly doing this as a side gig. And I got full scholarship on the 23rd application that I had sent. But I would keep track of all that stuff and all that. So that's why I know that it was 23rd. And 23rd ke baad, I think I got full scholarship from like 5 people. So then, yeah, I will share that. And then I will, what I did was, here you go, Dr. Jha. Yeah. So what I did was, bakiyon ko I wrote to them, I thanked them for their generosity and I said, I've already got a full scholarship, so I can't accept a full scholarship, but would it be okay for them to give me a travel grant? So they said, okay. So literally my travel from UK to India throughout my PhD was paid for by my travel grants. And then I asked someone, would it be okay for you to give me this money to publish my PhD, like actually printing expenses ke liye. One of the family foundations actually paid me money to buy books. Can you imagine? Like I got 500 quid to just buy books that I needed for my research and those kind of things. So it was like that. And that's what I mean when I say that collect rejections. So मेरे तो दिमाग में था ही कि सब मेरे को reject करेंगे, and I started just writing, and I was like, okay, मेरे को इतने rejections आए, and I was like, so the point I'm trying to make is, if you are going to write to 50 people, you are going to get accepted. There is no doubt in my mind about anyone in the world. If you're writing to that many, you are going to get accepted, okay? But it's the tenacity and it's the persistence that you need to keep to be able to kind of go at it and keep doing it, kind of a thing. But collect rejections, but not desk rejections. What do I mean by desk rejections? आपको desk rejection तब होता है जब किसी ने आपका पढ़ा भी नहीं है, क्योंकि desk rejection is done by a clerk, and वो clerk क्या देख रहा है? APA मैंने बोला था citation को, but ये MLA है. मैंने बोला था UK English use करो, इन्होंने आधी जगह में UK English है, आधी जगह में Indian English है, आधी जगह में American English spellings हैं. या फिर मैंने बोला था abstract has to be only 250 words, inka 298 words hai. These kind of things, right? Like technically don't fail on technicalities. Like it's not good. Agar unhone ORICD number manga hai, de do. Agar unhone sare authors ka manga hai, de do. Because if you are getting desk rejected, you're just wasting time. There's nothing that's happening. You have to follow all the rules, right? If you are actually getting rejected, then they are going to give you feedback. And that feedback is going to make it better, and then you can resubmit it, all that stuff to somewhere else and all that. So it actually helps. And I can assure you, somebody who has submitted an article, or like somebody who keeps not getting this rejected and getting feedback level pay, then they are going to get published for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. And read through the author's guidelines carefully. जो उन्होंने बोला है, जैसे बोला है, just follow that. Because oftentimes, पहले तो clerks हुआ करते थे, अभी तो it's a machine that rejects you. So there's no point in it. Make sure formatting is correct. Make sure. So if they have asked for Times New Roman or आपका Calibri में लिखा हुआ है, it gets rejected. So those kind of rejections, it's not worth it. आपका भी time waste है, उनका भी time waste है. It's like all round inefficiency. So just do that. And some final thoughts and tools that I found useful. Mendeley and Grammarly, of course, it helps me a lot. But especially Grammarly helps with wordiness, because one of the things I have started doing, I wasn't doing initially, and now I do it, because the way I was taught in a grammar school, the way I was taught, I use passive tense a lot. So, but when you publish, active tense saves you words. So now I've started using and writing in active tense, and Grammarly ko maine set karke rakha hai ki active tense mein do mere ko aise. So those kind of things you can set in Grammarly, so that helps me a lot. Mendeley, again, is a free reference manager, but you don't have to use Mendeley. You can use Zotero, you can use anything. Just use something. It makes life so much easier. It just makes life easier. Once you start using it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And so what happens is, when you are looking at Mendeley and all of that, right? If I look at things like, I'm searching things like decolonization. Let's say I'm writing on decolonization. I'm searching for that term, and every article in Mendeley, agar 1000 article hai, to 1000 article ne decolonization पे कौन से पैरा में वो मेंशन किया है, वो हाईलाइट करके दे देता है आपको. So you're able to get like a quick this thing of हाँ ये मुझे पढ़ना है, हाँ ये मुझे पढ़ना है, and then you can shortlist it, and then it just makes the research process very easy, and it has been developed by researchers and how they work. So once you start using it, it becomes very easy, and you don't spend a lot of time. Like for example, with just a click of a button, you can change from APA to MLA. I would have shown all that, but that will take another half an hour, so I'm not doing that. I cannot not talk about AI when there's so much going on, but I'm good with AI. I think everybody is using it. I think there's no point in kind of saying that write without AI. Nah. But what I want to see is that there is sufficient oversight and validation, because AI hallucinates. So if I were to ask you questions like, would you be comfortable if your surgeon had only trained using AI-generated reports and articles? Or how would you feel about living in a house where the architect and the engineer primarily used AI-generated designs for their structural analysis? Ya fir agar AI systems building on trend data without deep human oversight, it makes us uncomfortable, right? And that's kind of the thing, right? There are more questions. What if hamare economists and RBI ke economists, they're all just using AI kind of a thing? Or what if your doctor or chemist or biologist is not looking at your reports and just using AI for everything? I mean, AI is effective, but what I'm trying to say is it needs oversight. And who is held accountable when AI makes a critical error? It is the person behind the AI, right? So it falls on to us that we go through it and we make sure that everything we're writing there, every word we're using is the word we want to use. It's not generic. It's not like everybody's writing is the same. Aisa nahi hai. So those kind of things. And one of the other things, like I use AI quite a bit in our work, in our everything, I use AI quite a bit. And I think that has become the norm because everybody uses AI, everybody expects a lot of fast work. So I can't stop using AI because that's part of my work, right? But I know the dangers of AI, and so I offset it by reading a lot. I used to read, let's say, 30 books a year. I now try and read about 50 so that I'm offsetting that and I'm doing some deep work. So that kind of offsetting and skill erosion na ho, that's our job to kind of maintain it. But otherwise, and I did a session for Jain University and others on how to use AI in research. Maybe some other time we could think about that. But your most important rejection is going to be about ethics. So you can actually put AI as your co-author and publish in Scopus-Indexed Journals. You can say that this article has been co-authored by AI, but you have to call it out. You have to say how you and where you have used AI, okay? So if you do that, you can actually put AI as your co-author. And my last piece of advice is literally publish with research scholars, students, everybody, because I think collaborative work helps them a lot, and I do a lot of collaborative work. But so you will see in my CV that a lot of my research is collaborative research, but it helps me because I feel like my co-authors bring in a point of view that's not necessarily mine, and I like to be challenged. मुझे अच्छा लगता है when somebody brings in a opposing point of view and I'm like, oh, I never thought about it, and then we start thinking about it and all of that. So I think it makes our research better. It makes our it's a wonderful way to get someone new, your student, into the field, all of that. So yeah, and that's it. Please ask me questions. I hope I'm good with time. It's 7:30, so we have half an hour. That's about the time I had kind of planned. So feel free to ask me questions and let me know if there's anything you want me to share with you, or if there's anything else I can help you with.
Hi, Dr. Padmini. I'm not sure if this is a question, but this is an observation. I'm Dr. Leena. And first, thank you so much for that was a brilliant exposition and so comprehensive about the entire landscape of publishing. And I actually do a lot of ethnography, but I also do classroom ethnographies and I've published in Scopus-Indexed Journals, but I do a lot of qualitative research. And you know what you say is so right. How to choose a journal is extremely important so that you don't get rejected. I mean, I can talk about my own experiences of working on, I did a research on matchmaking in the digital spaces, and I made the mistake of sending it to a Taylor and Francis journal, which is a very good journal. But it came back saying it's sorry, we will not be able to publish it. But what was interesting is the reasons that they proffered. And one of the reasons, and that also brought me to this reality of this whole politics of publishing, the reviewer had written a very interesting thing. The reviewer said that, probably your paper, it was a very quantitative based thing and mine was totally qualitative. So now I could understand, in hindsight, I could understand why it got rejected. But what was troubling is the reviewer wrote that, you could have, I write about same-sex marriages in India and how they are not legal. And the reviewer actually got back to me saying, you could have incorporated the latest, the law that changed in India about permitting same-sex marriage. And I'm like, when did that happen? And I wrote back to the journal and the publisher saying, I'm a little surprised. And, they wrote back saying, please understand, this is all done for free. We don't pay our reviewers, so, we therefore open our doors to anyone who's ready to do it. And so they may not necessarily know. And it was based in America probably, and this was India. So I think these are the pitfalls that one necessarily has to guard oneself against. I just thought I'll share this, but thank you so much for that brilliant thing.
Leena, I think I think what also this tells me is that if you can, so the way I would have taken it, there are 2 points. One, like I told you, our peer can be anyone. It can be a 23-year-old who's done his PhD or not, kind of a thing, right? He or she. The other thing is, what it tells me is that in some ways they felt like I could have I'll probably add a footnote or so saying that till date there has been no change in the legal status, and it's pending and all of that, so that it makes the person aware that I'm aware of that kind of a thing. It's about so even adding a footnote of that sort might actually
and I actually understood that, because both the contexts are very different. That is something one has to be really mindful about. Yes, absolutely correct. Thank you so much for that.
Also, ma'am, as you rightly said that AI hallucinates, my recent experience has been that you have to know the text before you find out anything more about it on AI, because sometimes it gives suggestions. I was surprised that it gave Uganda as a suggestion for something that it is absolutely not related to.
relevant.
So, one can't really rely on AI completely. You have to kind of have some basic idea about your research. And
Absolutely.
also something that you have in mind as a proposal, AI might give you a completely different idea altogether. So, uh,
Absolutely.
I don't think AI is above the researcher in any way.
Definitely. I
So,
mean, I would use it as I would use a research assistant kind of a thing, right? So I would say,
right,
okay, can you
right.
give me, I'm working on something new. Can you give me, like, what are the top researchers that have been done in the area or something like that? But I'm not going to ask it to write the proposal for me. I wouldn't trust it to do that just yet.
Yes, absolutely.
So those kind of things. Yeah.
AI is very good at arranging things for us, isn't it? I mean, it just organizes well.
But sometimes, what happens, and I had done that, and then I just took it out. So if you ask AI to, let's say, write a literature review on your topic, right, it will give you like one chotu para of everything. It still doesn't tell you what were the watershed moments, where did the narrative change, how did it come about, how did the thought process change. That level of nuance AI is unable to get, and so it looks at best as an amateur brilliant kid, but an amateur student writing a paper kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's a very customized experience. The self is missing, certainly.
Yeah.
But only when you put down everything and ask them to organize, probably they do that well. That is what I was saying.
Yeah, definitely.
And since you mentioned review of literature, I think that search is something that AI is not apt to do at all. Sometimes it just says that, unable to kind of. So,
and you have to check all the links because it really hallucinates research, like literally does. So,
yes.
If there are any other questions or thoughts, I'd be happy to take, answer.
If there are any questions or any doubts, you all can unmute and ask, or you can put it in chat. I think she has, Dr. Ram has taken session in such a nice way that everybody is noting it down and finding out which website to go, which journals to trace, and it has been put it in such a simple way, but yet in a firm way that you can use AI, but you have to be very, very careful. And there are many Scopus journals available, but accordingly select which has maybe a low H index, but high impact for yourself to get selected. And I think on the behalf of HSNC board, I, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, and on behalf of HR College, Kashi and Dharti, who have been the key people behind finding you on LinkedIn and taking your appointments and putting it together, the session that we are doing it together. I think it has been a wonderful learning evening where we are not just interacting, but also looking at your way of taking the topic in such a simple manner. I must appreciate and I must congratulate you because taking it in a simpler manner, because here you have people with uh, 20, 30 years of experience. There are people who have just 1 or 2 years of experience. So there is a wide range of group that has come in from multidisciplinary subjects. And today you've taken it in such a simple way. I think a heartfelt thanks to you, Dr. Padmini, for taking your time out and giving us this wonderful evening where I'm sure everyone would be thinking, let me at least write one Scopus 1 year or per year. It will
Yeah,
be, I'm sure, a definite attempt by each and every one.
yeah, yeah. There is a question, how to cite AI in research paper. I think I just want to answer that. Tanviji, if you look at AI cited papers, or if you look at machine generated papers, you will understand how they have used it, and you will understand how, for example, they've written the methodology, how did they use it, all of that, like a machine generated इसमें कैसे, how do you AI automations कैसे किया है, all of that you will be able to kind of look for it, and you will also see, I'm looking at a couple of papers here, but almost all of them are behind a paywall, so you won't be able to access them, but I'll just send you a few where so for example, this is a AI co-authored paper. I'm putting a link here. And there are more such papers. If you just look machine learning papers and all that stuff, you can write it that this was the prompt we gave for which they gave this, and this is how we changed it, all of that. You'll be able to find it. So do your research and you'll be able to find it. But there are more machine ML generated papers out there. So, yeah. And Dishari and Arya are sort of, yeah, they write a lot with AI as co-author.
So over to Kashi and Dharti. If there are no further questions.
Yes, ma'am. So,
Yeah.
very firstly, I would like to give a very formal vote of thanks. It gives me immense pleasure to extend this vote of thanks, particularly, ma'am, for sharing so many valuable insights on publishing and on writing Scopus-Indexed journals. To be honest, I am a beginner in the field of research as well. And today's session was truly so enlightening. It gave me a clear understanding of the standards, of the structure, of what exactly should be expected for academic publishing. So, very firstly, thank you for that. Also, I found really good guidance on identifying the right journals. How do you find them? The links, I did not know about them. Even recognizing the predatory journals, and to understand right from the publication where it's like free, when it has publication costs, and basically how to explore those research tools you mentioned. So those, I think, overall were extremely valuable and insightful for all of us, including me. So on behalf of all the participants, I would really like to thank you for your time, your patience in answering all the queries, and for encouraging us to pursue quality research. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. This has been like such a heartfelt, yeah.
So I think I would request all of them to come on a camera for a group picture, because